You're going through a divorce with a toxic ex and receive threatening messages that your every move is being watched and recorded. That same ex reports you to the authorities and claims you are sexually abusing your eldest child. You've gone through all the proper channels to part company with a toxic business partner, only to discover that they've sent anonymous false allegations to all your key clients, claiming that you are being investigated for embezzlement and fraud. These are just a couple of less extreme examples of what the most dangerous type of narcissist is capable of. If you find yourself dealing with a really difficult personality and you are constantly being shocked by their behaviour because it is so at odds with your own way of doing things, maybe they are callous, maybe they are aggressive, they could be paranoid, they could be very controlling, the chances are you are dealing with a malignant narcissist. Today, we're looking at what a malignant narcissist is and how somebody becomes one. A malignant narcissist has a lot of the typical narcissistic traits, that grandiose sense of self, the lack of empathy, etc. And we're going to take a deeper dive into those traits in a few moments. But they are more dangerous than other types of narcissist because there is a level of hostility and aggression that is very pronounced in this type of personality. I also think it's worth pointing out that we have overt types of narcissist where they are really out there. We see them coming a mile off, we hear them coming a mile off, and there are the more covert types who operate behind closed doors and maintain a public persona of respectability. Malignant narcissists can fall into either of these camps. So let's take a deeper look into that trait I've just mentioned, that grandiose sense of self and superiority. And on the back of what I've just said about overt and covert behaviours, this may be a trait that is declared and said out loud, or it may just be that sense of entitlement that they feel very deeply, and their behaviour means that they will stop at nothing to get that respect, that attention that they feel they deserve. So you may see this in an obvious way, but you may not, certainly not at the beginning. But in my experience and in my studies and research, malignant narcissists seem to have a slightly deeper rooted sense of entitlement and grandiosity. And it's not necessarily in terms of success and all the trappings they feel they deserve. It may just be somebody's undivided attention and a romantic partner serving them, even if they won't admit that out loud. Their behaviour shows that these are their expectations. Next, we have lack of empathy. So whilst, as we've just seen, they have this sense of entitlement and a very developed sense of themselves, they don't have this same regard or consideration for others. Again, in malignant narcissists, this lack of empathy seems even more profound than it does in other narcissistic types. And this is what in part makes them more dangerous, because they have no regard for the impact of their actions or behaviour on other people. They just don't care, and they will stop at nothing to get what they want and what they feel they deserve. Malignant narcissists are manipulative and exploitative. They see relationships as transactional. They look at them in terms of what they can get out of the relationship. and they may conduct their relationships using charm and charisma, or they may use deceit and confusion techniques in order to get what they want from the person in front of them. There is a higher level of hostility and aggression, and they seem to derive almost sadistic pleasure from seeing somebody hurt or humiliated. You might be able to catch a glimpse of a sly smile when they see somebody suffering or being humiliated, especially if it is at the hands of the narcissist or some sort of process that they have initiated. They will also be extremely vindictive against anybody who has threatened their public persona, their image, or who they believe has hurt them in some way. They will want to get their revenge, and they will stop at nothing to get this, and they will often scale up this revenge. It won't simply be a question of doing the same thing back to the other person. They will want to hit back twice as hard. Paranoia and delusional thinking is another cluster of traits that we find in particular in the malignant narcissist. We know that narcissists in general love to play the victim. Malignant narcissists again take this to another level. They believe that people are out to get them, to hurt them, to harm their reputation, and they are always ready to be on the defensive and on the attack. A malignant narcissist will not show remorse or guilt. If they are caught out doing something that was wrong, they will always shift the blame. They will never accept responsibility and will explain away, justify in their terms their behaviour, and it will usually be because of somebody else, in their mind at least. There is a pathological need for control and dominance, again taken to another level by the malignant narcissist. We know that in general narcissists need control, but this is an even deeper rooted need for malignant narcissists, and they are often drawn to positions of power and responsibility in order to feed that need. And this is why they are more aggressive than other personality types if that control or dominance is brought into question or threatened. The impact on the other person in a relationship with a malignant narcissist, whether this is a personal relationship or a professional relationship, can be profound. The psychological impact often leads to lower levels of self-esteem, to bouts of anxiety and depression, and just a feeling of not knowing which way to turn, because the behaviour can be bewildering. And as I said right at the beginning, their behaviour is the complete opposite of that of a rational thinking, reasonable person, that we can often be in a state of shock and disbelief, which leads us to question whether we are remembering it right, whether it is actually what is happening, because it just seems too much to believe, and often is in total contrast to the idea of the person we first had when we began that personal or professional relationship with them. There can even be physical harm, as malignant narcissists will sometimes not be content with that psychological abuse, and it turns to other forms of physical abuse. Next, we're going to look at where malignant narcissists come from, and at the end I'm going to give you some tips as to what to do next if this resonates with you and you believe you're in that personal or business relationship with a malignant narcissist. So, how does somebody become a malignant narcissist, or are they born as malignant narcissists? It's a controversial question, and I know that there are many viewers out there who have very fixed beliefs as to the answer to this question. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, but right now I'm going to be sharing my opinions based on my experiences, both personal and professional, and my research and studies. Amongst all the malignant narcissists that I have known personally, or my clients have been in a professional or personal relationship with, there is one common denominator, and that is a malignant narcissist has had experience of early or childhood trauma. This is at the hands of parents or carers, usually, who have demonstrated what I would describe as an extreme form of parenting errors. So it may be on the one hand, at one end of the scale, that child was completely neglected and or abused by the adults in their life or by older siblings, for example. On the other end of the scale, the child will have been completely pampered from the word go, so made to feel that they are special, made to feel that they deserve everything that they want and they are somehow superior to everybody else. In the case of a severely neglected child, they may decide that they are going to go out and get the attention they need, they crave, they feel they deserve from others, and they don't care how they get it. So this is the beginning of their narcissistic behaviour. If a child has been abused, then the narcissistic traits may develop as a defense mechanism. In order to protect themselves, they prevent themselves from feeling connected to other people, so that loss of empathy happens at a very early age, and their narcissistic traits are born out of this protective shell that they build up around them, and they will get what they can from people but stay behind their shell and not have any meaningful, intimate relationships with other people. As for that pampered child that was made to feel superior and more special than everybody else, they will continue that behaviour as they grow into adolescence and into adulthood, demanding whatever they want and not caring who they trample on in order to get that. It would appear, although there is no definitive study to prove this, that the reason somebody may become a malignant narcissist as opposed to another type of narcissist with perhaps less aggression and less of that desire to retaliate and to hurt people is down to the extent of the trauma, the abuse or the neglect that they themselves experienced in childhood. The roots of malignant narcissism may also lie in society and culture. So, for example, if somebody grows up in a particular culture where the traits of individualism, success and power are idealized or prioritized, then this can encourage somebody to think and behave in this way. And on a more microcultural level, within a family system or a family setting, somebody, maybe a particular child, maybe a particular gender, may be idealized to the point that they believe that they are superior and entitled to everything, and get used to hurting others in order to obtain what they want. There are also theories around genetic predisposition, meaning that somebody is born with a higher potential of becoming a malignant narcissist. The jury is still out. There is no definitive study that answers that question, but in my belief, it is a combination of perhaps genetics and a certain disposition, but this doesn't mean that everybody with that genetic makeup is going to be and is bound to be a malignant narcissist. It is a combination of this predisposition plus the real life experiences of that child as they're growing up, and that come together and create a personality type that is aggressive, dangerous, completely self-centered, and has all the traits that we've just talked about of malignant narcissism. So what can you do if you recognize these traits and you know that you are dealing with a malignant narcissist? Ideally, you are going to plan your exit strategy sooner rather than later. If for whatever reason it's not possible for you to completely exit this relationship, you need to distance yourself from them as much as possible. So do not confide in them. Make sure that your boundaries are in place and you respect your own boundaries. They won't, but you need to respect them so that you are not allowing that person to become too intimate, to know too much about you. If you can get out of the relationship, then you need to start planning that now. Play your cards close to your chest. Do not talk to them about your plans. Do not make any threats or conditions in order to try and make them change. They are not going to change. So keep your cards close to your chest, plan your exit strategy, and then put it into action as soon as it's safe to do so. Staying safe is key. I'd love you to share any of your experiences with malignant narcissists in the comments, and until next time, take really good care of you.